know the cliche, where your house is on fire and you can choose one thing to save, assuming all the animals and people are out. When I was 5, that would have been my teddy bear. He was my buddy. He went everywhere with me. Went overseas. I got sick on him a couple times. I stood over him as my mom put on new paws, and I had my doctor's kit with my syringe to put some Novocaine in there, make him feel better. Well, over 30 years later, I have a house full of things that I love. I've got photos, I've got Grandma's quilt, a few special wooden boxes. How do you choose? One way to go is to find an heirloom. But what exactly is an heirloom? If we lived back in the 1400s, an heirloom would have been a tool that would have been passed down to your heirs, literally something that would have helped you make some money, like an heir's loom, like a weaving loom. Well, since we don't live in the 1400s either, I can leave my dad's wrench and my mom's sewing machine in the closet. But I'd probably want to still find something that means something that I can hand over. Well, I've been keeping a diary since I was in 7th grade. Sometimes they were spiral-bound notebooks, sometimes they were leather journals. Usually I wrote with a fountain pen. Lately I've been writing with a red plastic pen that has the logo of my mortgage company on it. That mortgage company thought enough of single me to give me some money so I could go buy a townhouse, call that home. By giving me that money, they empowered me, gave me the tools to get out of a questionable apartment that I had to haul groceries up 3 flights of stairs to find my fridge. They gave me back a sense of identity and a sense of purpose. They let me see that I could be something more, and they gave me the confidence to apply for my PhD and this amazing job at the Anoka County Historical Society. So I used this pen, which is a 50-cent red pen. You could probably find it in the back of your kitchen drawer, floating around the Target parking lot somewhere. It doesn't really mean a whole lot unless you have the story. So I could hand it off to my daughter as a tool, as an heirloom, but it's only as good as the story that I give her with it. But even that presents some problems. What is that story? What is our legacy? What do you want to leave? And if you tell the entire truth, who are you going to hurt? Who could you help? So I don't think I'm going to save those diaries. Yeah, you heard me right. Those diaries are really fun to read. I can go back to high school and I can find all the goofy things that I did. It's fun to read about college, and it's fun to read about my wedding and the impending birth, my first love. It's not so fun to come face to face with mean me, and angry me, and resentful me, cruel me. And I don't think that's something that I'd want my grandkids to grab a hold of. Not like that teddy bear. You know, I could have handed them that old teddy bear of mine, and they could have put it on the shelf, and they could have said, "Oh, Grandma," and they could remember me by him, but what would they be remembering? That ratty old teddy bear, right? So I go back to these diaries, and I see something that I really don't want to hand off. Part of the reason that there is that darkness in those diaries was my husband at the time was getting ready to deploy twice. And the more I wrote about my life, the more I realized I really didn't like my life. And the more I realized that I was going in a place that I was going to have to admit some truths, and I didn't want to see those written down. So day by day and week by week, I stopped writing because it seemed easier to ignore that truth. The funny thing is, of course, those are what actually I remember the most. I have to go back to those diaries and find that bright pink scrawl to remember the strange things I did in high school. But I've started writing again, and I'm using that red pen. And it's years after the deployments and after the divorce. But that red pen is something we all have. Your pen might be a vase from your aunt. It might be a book. It might be a desk from your grandfather. Your pen might not even have a shape. It might be a favorite song sung at bedtime. Whatever it is, there's something in your life that represents a watershed emotional moment, that represents a story to you that tells of your journey. That's what you need to save. Now, I love talking to dead people. That's mostly what a historian does. And I love rifling through dusty books and old newspapers. I love sleuthing around and finding their story, figuring out who they were, splicing it back together again. But I've never come across a census record that asks what their favorite breakfast was. And I've never found a land deed that says how it felt to sign that mortgage. Those stories are ours and ours alone, and it's for us to decide what we leave and how we leave them, because they're not going to be able to be researched otherwise. We get people coming into the museum every day asking what was saved, what they can read, how they can find out about these people that they want to know. And every time they say, I wish there was more. I wish they had left more. So I ask you now, find a place that you can leave your story. Make it accessible to other people. It might be with your family, it might be with your friends, it might be with a club. Whatever it is, find a place that story can live. Because my diaries are going to burn, and that's okay. They're for me. But I can still tell my story. It might be line by line. I could still write something good. It might be some music. It might be some pottery. It might be a collection. It might be something like a video recording, or maybe just a simple audio recording, like the one my daughter listened to every night her dad was gone overseas. He hummed the Star-Spangled Banner. Whatever it is, find that and save it, because that's what you take with you from the fire. Thank you.